The reading is taken from Matthew chapter 15, verses 21 to 28. Matthew 15, verses 21 to 28. Leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Canaanite woman from that vicinity came to him, crying out, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is demon-possessed and suffering terribly." Jesus didn't answer a word. So his disciples came to him and urged him, "Send her away, for she keeps crying out after us." He answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel." The woman came and knelt before him. "Lord, help me," she said. He replied, "It is not right to take the children's crumbs and toss it to the dogs." "Yes, it is, Lord," she said. "Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus said to her, "Woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted." And her daughter was healed at that moment. Thanks be to God for this reading.
Well, thank you for inviting me here this morning. It's always a pleasure to come amongst you. I bring blessings and greetings from Griffithstown Baptist Church and from my pastor, the John Dickinson. They send their prayers and their best wishes to you. Let's turn to the Lord's word. I wonder who it is you worship. In my reading, it's slightly different from Cheryl's. It actually says at that particular point where it says, she came, and while she got rejected, she worshipped him. Not knelt, but worshipped him. But who is it that you worship? We see at this point in Jesus' ministry, he was on the move. He went away from his normal area, went to Tyre and Sidon, which is sort of on the top west north of that particular area of that land. Jesus was on the move, but the trouble is he was never left alone. Someone needed him. Someone needed him to do only what he could do. That woman was in the middle of a crisis. Would God respond? Perhaps not. And what Jesus' response to her perhaps was a surprise to you. It was to me when I originally looked at this particular passage. In our lives, it's full of change, isn't it? We never know what's going to be around the next corner. And the woman in our reading, this mother, was after God because she needed change. A change which could take place so her daughter would be well and set free. Yet Jesus was on another mission. His goal in ministry didn't include her particularly, because you see, she was not from Israel, she was a Canaanite woman. That meant that she was non-Jewish. This meant it would be difficult for Christ to respond to her, yet she was on a mission of her own. And she was on a mission because of her own child. Her daughter was in distress, yet she knew there was someone she knew that she could seek. Her daughter was vexed, so she sought relief. No one and nothing else would do, so she found the one who could do. Jesus' fame was spreading, and she knew that he could fix the one thing that she loved, and that was her daughter. And she knew if perhaps she reached him, then surely her daughter would be released. Surely he would respond. You know, if you don't believe in prayer for others, then believe because of this Bible passage, of what's been written here. You see, she was after a miracle for her own daughter. She was praying, she was seeking a blessing, and it seemed that the heavens above was full of brass because her daughter was sorely vexed. I wonder if we could be like that with our own children. Perhaps your children are missing from Christ. Or your next door neighbour, or that person you meet in the street, or all the lost souls around you. Are you seeking? Are you searching? Are you knocking? Are you asking Christ to do something about those situations, to draw them to him so that they might be set free? Are you willing to travel? Are you willing to have a passion? Are you willing to do what it takes for those whom you love and those whom you meet, that they might be touched by Jesus, just like this woman was? You see, our God can fix a crisis. While perhaps we can solve our own problems, it takes the power of God to fix a crisis. I wonder if this day you are suffering in the middle of a crisis, just like that mother was. Are you stuck in a place where you feel that you can't get out? Is it what's happening to your life right now is stealing your joy? You no longer have a smile upon your lips, and it's stopping you worshipping and discovering what God wants to do and is doing in your life. Are you in the middle of this crisis, but rather than use it to make you feel depressed and miserable, are using it instead to bring you power, to give you motivation, so it enables you for you to cry out to God, so that you might again receive that joy and contentment, that you would cry out to him, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. Are you at that point with God? In the crisis that you're experiencing, are you using it to give you that power to do that, to give you motivation? So that joy and contentment will come back to you, and that rather than have a lack of faith, then that faith would empower you to do even more. Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. Many believe that this reading shows that our God does not care. And he doesn't care on times to hear. But is that the case? Or is this reading really saying that we lack the passion, the power, the need, the desire to cry out to him and say and demand, like we said in our prayer, give us this day our daily bread. Notice there's no please in it, is there? It's about a desperate people having the need to have that bread in their lives. To demand it because we need that sustenance. To reach out to our God, to do something because no one else can. And rather than receive silence and then for us to turn and walk away, we cry out the more, we demand the more, that something has to be done because only God can do it. This woman said, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. You see, this woman knew who she was talking to. It wasn't a stranger. Rather, she was direct and foremost. She said, Lord. I wonder if this morning Jesus is your Lord. You know, most people's Lord is the television, or someone who's smoking, the addiction of that nicotine or alcohol. Her Lord, right here at this particular point, was Jesus. Is Jesus your Lord? To help you understand perhaps what this word means, it means master, sir, title of respect. Do those around you know that Jesus is your Lord? Is he your master? Do you give him that title of respect? Or are you so familiar with him that his title means nothing to you? She had done her homework. She knew that he was the son of David. Those who knew Jesus, who he met a few days before, even though that they were learned, didn't even know that Jesus was the son of anyone. But this woman, however, knew that he had a title, and she placed him in that title. And she knew that he was in a long line that went from Adam to David, from David to Christ, the beloved one. And surely he would respond to her. This morning, do you know this? Is he familiar to you? Or are you missing the experience of him loving you? Do you know him, or is he a stranger to you? If he is a stranger, then perhaps as you cry out to him, is he ignoring you? Would you respond to anyone if they were a stranger to you? We very rarely, don't we? Today we have those words, haven't we? And we tell them to our children, stranger danger. Don't go near those strange people. She asks Christ to be merciful. She says, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. I wonder if you know what mercy means. It means for someone to have compassion, love, sympathy, a deep caring and forgiveness. Giving or receiving care when it is not deserved. Are you merciful to others, even when they do not deserve mercy? This woman knew that she didn't deserve any mercy, but she asked anyway. A child was in trouble, and she wanted something to be done. I wonder if you cry out to Jesus in the same way, so that he would do something in their lives. Are you moved by the plight of those around you, your loved ones, your friends, this church, its fellowship, so that Christ would have mercy and he would rain down upon those whom you care for, and their lives would be changed? Or is it perhaps that you don't care? You don't have the energy. You don't have the purpose and passion this woman had. She asked Christ to have compassion and love and sympathy, to care deeply and forgive, so that her daughter could be set free. Yet what was Christ's response when she cried out to him? It was nothing, wasn't it? Nothing. I wonder what your response would be in that situation. Would you turn and walk away? The first response is not the one that we would have expected. I wonder if this is how your prayers are responded to. You just receive stony silence. It's as though God has turned a deaf ear and does not want to respond to you in any way. The sky is like brass, and nothing gets through either way. And it seems that no one has heard. Yet, she's different, isn't she? She's persistent. To the point where Jesus' disciples cry out to him, send her away. Because she was passionate, and she cried out to the point where she was nagging them. Jesus then responds, probably not to her directly, but because those around him had cried out to him. But his response is a negative one, isn't it? He says he's only come for the lost sheep of Israel. But she ignores that. She continues. She knows this. She understands this. She knows she's an alien in a cursed land. But she then does something unexpected. As I said, what's in my version? Rather than knelt, she comes and worships him. When you're in the middle of the darkest time, when you're in dire trouble and you don't know what's going to happen to you, you're in the middle of the crisis, do you hide away in the corner, or do you come to the Lord Jesus Christ and do you worship him? Do you worship him? Now, worship doesn't necessarily mean singing. To worship means adore. Do you adore the Lord Jesus Christ? To revere. To focus positive attention on. What's most of your attention focused on in your life? Where does it sit? But do you adore, obey, revere, and focus your attention upon the Lord Jesus Christ? That's what our worship is about. Do you adore him? Do you obey him? You know, so many people profess that they love the Lord Jesus Christ, but do you obey him? This world doesn't like that word today, does it? Obey. Do you obey him through his word? Do you pour reverence upon him? And do you focus your attention on him to the exclusion of all other things? Or is it you're the very opposite to what's described here? Because you've given up, because you believe that you have failed, that you believe that your prayers will never be answered. Even those who surrounded Christ wanted to get rid of her. They didn't have much mercy upon her, did they? They didn't have much compassion. And even though Christ ignored her, and when he did speak to her, he said he didn't have time for her, but she persisted. She persisted. I wonder if you persist. I wonder if you continue with God even though when it feels that God rejects you. Do you continue to say, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me? She knew the sayings of the Israelites, and even when she was described as a dog, she knew that even dogs have their part to play in the home. She pressed in. She pressed in for that blessing that she knew that needed to come. She squeezed through the rejection of the disciples and what she thought was the rejection of God. She sought what was needed, the saving of her daughter. She pressed forward even when those around her had resisted and tried to push her away. And when she responded to Christ's remark, what did he ultimately say to her? She had great faith. What is your faith like? Does it falter at the first rejection? Does it stumble at those perhaps around you who are saying, well, you know, there was a silly, that'll never happen. How do you expect a miracle? But Christ said she had great faith. And he gave her, and he granted her wish. Is your faith great? Have you been persistent? Do you press forward? Have you cried out so that Christ would respond to you? Or have you stumbled and failed at the first rejection? This woman's daughter was being destroyed by the demon who possessed her. This mother had sought out the one who could do what was required. She cried out for mercy and she worshipped him. She persisted, even though the church and God appeared to have rejected her. And when Christ saw her faith, her desire, her passion, what was in her heart, he granted her plea. And he had mercy upon her, and her daughter was set free. This day, have you been crying out to God, or have you given up? Have you received a message to encourage you? Or have you given up on those messages you receive? Then be like that Canaanite woman. Cry out to God. Be persistent and worship him. Because you see, he desires to bless you, to care for you. Ignore what those around you would say and press forever forward.